Florida Congressman Brian Mast is a member of the House Foreign Relations Committee, was in the audience at that joint session yesterday. Your takeaway, Congressman?
Yeah, my big takeaway on this is that Zelensky is not the problem. I think he's perfect for Ukraine. He's the leader that Ukraine needs. What's going on in Washington very much is the problem on a number of fronts. Number one, Washington has no idea what it wants to extract from Russia. I'll give you a quick example on that. This war is far from over, but there's already people planning here to spend U.S. taxpayer dollars to rebuild Ukraine instead of demanding that Russia be advised that they are going to pay for everything to rebuild Ukraine. That's something that we should be extracting. We're not looking to extract anything. We're not all in and we're not all out. You have Joe Biden coming in front of the American people saying, well, what we're doing is not escalating. It's not escalatory. No, that's BS. Everything we do is escalatory, and I'm at peace with that. But he's not at peace with America being what America is, which should be the hero. Vladimir Putin is comfortable being what he is, which is the bad guy. And these are very strategic issues that we face as Americans.
So here's an example, I think, to get specific. Imagine if we gave them the HIMARS before the attack. Imagine if we gave them the Patriot missile before it happened. Imagine if we gave them the smart bomb and technology to put on their dumb bombs before this took place. There wouldn't be a destruction of the infrastructure, correct?
You could say that 100% accurately. Imagine if we said we were going to enforce a no-fly zone or this or this or this. The list goes on and on. But you didn't have an administration that came before the American people and said, hey, listen, this isn't going to be a situation where there is no cost. There will be a cost to it. But if America does this, you can destroy the Russian military for the next decade. You can cost with $40 billion the Russian military $1 trillion, and they will never expand, and this will help NATO in this way. These were not the strategic objectives that were taking place, and they're still not taking place in Washington.
Congressman, there's no way they stop there. You saw what they did in Georgia. You saw what they did with Crimea. You knew they were rattling the cages of they want to reconstitute the Soviet Union. And that's what his job was. That's what his speeches said he was going to do. Do you think we've effectively explained that?
I don't think that there's been a good explanation to the American people, and I think a lot of that does go to Joe Biden and his unwillingness to really speak truthfully about the situation, whether it's our investments in there or whether it's Putin's plans. Now, I have a firm belief that were there an incursion into NATO territory, Article 5 would 100% be invoked and stood by 100%. I believe that very, very firmly, but in the face of this, there's just not, I've given the list before, they're not looking for nuclear demilitarization or demilitarized zones or war crime tribunals or Putin out of power. There's no strategic objectives that are being looked at.
What does the end look like then for Brian Mast?
The end looks like for us right now that we continue to limp along, as has been discussed. Putin believes that he can wait out American support, the politics of this situation, and eventually turn the war in his favor because Ukraine is not going to get the support. And without laying out a plan for how we actually win, instead of how we just help Ukraine defend itself, that will be what takes place.
And you have a situation now where Iran is now playing a role. And how long will China sit on the sidelines as they watch the Russian military be humiliated because they can't fight and they have terrible weapons, they have no bases, and they had 200,000 people leave their country rather than go get drafted? This has been a disaster for them.
Yeah, China, I think, sees something even more important than this, in my opinion, and that's something about the U.S. military industrial base and the ability to ramp up our supply lines. If we're having struggle to supply Ukraine, NATO, other entities with everything that they need and our own military, and they were to kick off something with Taiwan simultaneously, I think that they realize America could be in a pinch when it comes to that situation, semiconductors, a host of other things in our supply chain, and they're absolutely willing to exploit that.
Congressman Brian Mast, always in the thick of things. Thanks so much, Congressman.
All the best.
And have a great Christmas.